Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We're the Owatonna School Board. This is Monday. It's the 27th of January, 5:30. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Tim is going to give us an update on our attendance.
All present.
We are, in fact. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up tonight would be to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor with an aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 4 tonight is Mission Moment. I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Elstad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Tonight, it is my honor during our mission moment to lift up 4 of our students. I see 2 of them present tonight. So I'm going to first reference our Excel Award nominee that is here. So Paige Thompson, if you would please come up to the front table here. And I'll also be recognize Ayub as well. We have 3 here. I forgot Ayub. So why don't you have a, if you would be so kind as to, thank you. Owatonna High School juniors are nominated for the Excellence in Community, Education, and Leadership Award. The Minnesota State High School League Award recognizes high school juniors who are active in fine arts and or athletic activities, demonstrate leadership qualities, and are model citizens in the community. We couldn't have picked 2 better. Ayub's involvement at Owatonna High School, beyond being the student school board representative, has included National Honor Society, Student Council, mock trial, Knowledge Bowl Key Club, Math League, cross country, track and field, speech, and choir. In the community, Ayub is active with peer tutoring, National Youth for Immigrant Advocacy, and Youth Against Sexual Violence. Paige's involvement includes National Honor Society, Student Council, shock, cross country, hockey, golf, orchestra, and choir. How do these students do all of this? That's what I want to know. Her community service includes Wildlife Youth Leader, Young Life, Salvation Army, VFW, Czech Lodge, and Trinity Lutheran Church. It is my honor, board members, to let you know of these 2 fine Owatonna High School students that have received the Excel Award for Owatonna High School, given to them by the Minnesota State High School League. Questions of the board?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure there's a comment or 2 here.
When do you sleep? Rhetorical. You don't really have to. Yeah.
What's your favorite thing?
I love it.
Do you have all the things that you're involved in? Which one is like the pinnacle of things that you think are important?
How do you manage all your different activities and volunteer opportunities?
Yes.
I don't really do
All right. Whatever works.
All right. Paige, Ayub, it's so nice to have both of you here, and it's so fun to be able to recognize both of you, and it's our opportunity to congratulate both of you on these great accomplishments. Way to go. Congrats.
The next I'd like to honor tonight are our AAA award nominees. So I'm going to ask Amanda Clubb to come forward, please. I do not see her counterpart, Zach Daynard, here tonight, but we'll honor Amanda, but I will read Zach's accomplishments. The AAA award goes to an Owatonna High School senior that are nominated through the Minnesota State High School League for the AAA, meaning Academics, Arts, and Athletics Award. The AAA award acknowledges a male and female high school senior with a 3.0 or higher GPA. I know that these students have a higher GPA than 3.0. They're excellent students. but they also participate in league-sponsored athletic programs and fine arts activities. Amanda's athletic and fine arts activities at Owatonna High School include band, all-state band, orchestra, tennis, and track and field, among many other things that Amanda's involved in. Zach's list includes choir, football, all-conference and state tournament participant, and also a state tournament and all-conference participant in track and field. We're incredibly proud of these talented students who are involved in so many ways at Owatonna High School, but even more so, their involvement in the community and the impact that they will have not only as high school students, have had as high school students and students in middle school and below, but the future that they will provide for their community. I think that just shows in these individuals. They are wonderful role models for our younger students who are watching you all of the time, which is great, and we appreciate how you inspire excellence in others around them. I'd like to honor tonight Amanda Clubb and Zach Daynard as the AAA Award nominees.
Questions?
I like the question, what is your favorite thing?
But one of my favorite things is track and field. I'm a thrower, and I just think our team environment is so positive, and I look forward to every year.
All right, I've got two questions. Okay, I should know what a thrower throws, but I don't. So maybe you can explain to me what a thrower is throwing. And then tell me about band, because I heard that.
So for high school throwing, you have two options. You can throw the shot put or the discus. Pretty much everyone throws both, but yeah, the shot put's like, you know what that is?
I do. I threw in high school, but yes, I did. But I wasn't sure how it was working these days, so yeah.
So we have those two options.
Uh-huh.
And then band, what do you want to know about?
What instrument?
Oh, the blue.
The best instrument.
What got you interested in like one from each of the categories, so the arts, athletics, and academics?
So I started playing the flute at St. Mary's. I don't really know what drew me particularly to that instrument, but our band teacher is like a primary flute player, so yeah, she's a really good teacher. For track, I was kind of like accidentally a thrower. I wanted to sprint, but then they just kind of recommended I do that, and I did, and never regretted it.
All right.
So much fun.
Nice.
And then in school, I don't really know. I like school a lot. Nothing really sparked my interest that I remember. And my parents just like encourage us to always try to do well in our academics. So yeah, I just try to make them proud, try to make myself proud.
And maybe one more quick, plans for the fall, do you know yet?
I don't know. I want to go to college to study biology, but I don't know what school yet.
Nice.
Again, it's just so much fun to hear this, and we wish you the very best. And after 4 years of school and maybe some work experience, please come back to Owatonna. Be my neighbor. Come back to Owatonna, move into my neighborhood. No, Amanda, congratulations. Really proud of you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Chair, if I might mention one other thing, I think it's important to recognize that we have family support here tonight. That is part of the equation, right? Strong support network that helps our students find their passions and helps them and helps their drive to do so. So thank you to the family members that came tonight as well to support children and grandchildren. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Tonight we're going to move on. Item 5 tonight would be public forum. We do in fact have one card. So it's from Beth Giltvet. Ms. Giltvet, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the front. You have a 3-minute opportunity to share your thoughts with us.
And Ms. Gilford, if you would please press that button so that the light turns green on there. Thank you so much.
It works. Thank you all. My name is Beth Giltvet, and I'm a member of the community. And I'm here on behalf of Steele County Indivisible. And I'm here to urge you to adopt a safe schools resolution, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. I know that you'll all agree that every child deserves the chance to learn in an environment free from fear. Unfortunately, immigration enforcement near schools has created a climate of anxiety and instability for immigrant families in many communities across this nation. Parents are getting to be afraid to drop their children off at school. Students are distracted and distressed, unable to focus on their education. And these aren't hypothetical situations, they're happening here and now. And immigration enforcement doesn't just disrupt families, it disrupts entire school communities. When immigration and customs enforcement operates near or in schools, the consequences are devastating for kids, creating fear, crushing students' abilities to learn, and undermining the community's trust in public education. I'm here to urge you to adopt a Safe Schools resolution, and I'll email you a copy of a template for that before your next business meeting. Everybody will get a copy of that. So a Safe School resolution and model policy that comes from the National Education Association. You can use this model to guide your creation of a Safe Schools and Safe Zones resolution for our school district. The model resolution contains reassurances for all students, procedures for law enforcement, and information and support for families and staff. Every child deserves the chance to learn in an environment free of fear. The Safe Schools resolution can offer a powerful solution. It ensures that schools remain safe havens of learning and child development, not fear. By prohibiting the collection of immigration information and setting clear protocols for handling ICE requests, the resolution can protect all students while upholding federal and state laws. It's important to note that this resolution is not about shielding individuals who've committed crimes, especially violent crimes. If ICE presents a signed judicial warrant, schools will comply as required by law. This resolution is about ensuring that due process is followed and that no family has to endure unnecessary fear or intimidation while accessing their right to education. This is not just a policy decision for the school board. It's really a moral imperative. By passing a resolution like this, you can affirm that our school stands for every student, no matter their background.
Ms. Gilbert.
Can I finish the last paragraph?
That is your time.
Pardon?
That's your time.
Okay.
Thanks.
I ask you to support this resolution when I send it to you. Thank
We
you.
appreciate you being here and sharing your thoughts. Thank you. Moving on, tonight, item 6 is general information. You all had received the enrollment report as part of your board packet. Any questions for Mr. Elstad with regard to that? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. Item 7 tonight, no action required from us, but these are simply discussion items. The first would be school board committee meeting reports. Let's start with policy. Policy, you have anything for us?
Yep. I would defer.
Oh, you defer?
No,
Yeah, and Tim, chime in. We met a couple weeks ago and went through another big chunk of policies that have been submitted for first reading. A lot of it was statute additions and subtractions, and so not a lot of flex that we have within our district, but abiding by statutes and lawyers saying this is a great idea. So,
Good summary.
Anything else for policy? All right. Finance. Have you had your first meeting yet?
We have a meeting
We have
scheduled for
not.
February 3rd. No.
Next Monday, next Tuesday.
Okay.
Yep, so nothing really to
nothing.
report.
All right. And then Andrea, Jolene, and I were in a facilities meeting tonight just prior to this. I have my notes, but I'll let you start, and whatever you don't cover, I'll fill in.
Sure. One of the things we talked about was the summer projects that are going to be happening at various schools and buildings, the HVAC system being updated at both at OEC and McKinley. There'll be some new carpeting at Wilson, and the pool project will start sounded like at the end of March even.
Will that interrupt instruction then, end of March? It will not.
For the pool? No.
I don't think so.
Boys swim team is over by then. In the district office, wrapping up very minor things. The shed that is being built is almost done, and once that's complete, it will be easier. It sounds like there's neighbors and community members that are navigating through that space to get to the track. And so they'll be able to close that space off a little bit more efficiently and effectively. And the opposite side by the parking lot, that space is open. And that will help direct community members to park there and walk in. So.
Yeah, Bridge Street, that property has been listed, and Rose Street, the property on Rose Street, there are arrangements being made to have an appraisal done on that property, but that would pretty well wrap up what happened at facilities tonight. That takes care of the committee meeting reports. Anybody want to chime in with regard to the work session? I'll cover that more when we get to it.
It was good, but it was hard. It was very beneficial, but it was hard to articulate some of the characteristics and things that we need.
Yep.
Yeah, I felt it was really
But it was good.
process, and like collectively, we arrived at a consensus. So that was great.
I think it was a thoughtful way to start. Yeah, just, to realign our priorities, realign what we want for the future, and then talk about characteristics. So.
Anybody else? Okay. With that, third item under this category is policy revisions. Anything that popped out for anybody with regard to that first reading? Any questions?
I noticed there was huge changes on the graduation requirements, but it looked like it was all just updates to the new. Pretty standard.
Yeah, if I might, those are changes legislatively that were made, personal finance being one of them. We've got some other curricula that will be coming down the road here, but this was just highlighting because in the policy itself, we've stated, and it's been kind of scratched up before, freshmen starting this year and beyond. And it seems like every time we make a change, we have to go back and start that over again because there's a new cycle of students coming through. But yes, it's all statutory. So.
Can I make a comment? Yeah. So the drug-free workplace school policy, good. I think something to consider, and I'm not sure exactly how or where to include this, would be now that marijuana is legal, and I smell it more often in the community, and I know that it is also being noted in some of the classrooms to the point where a friend of mine is one of our teachers and said, we had to put the student's backpack in the hallway because it smelled so strong. So obviously it's not the student, but the student is coming in after having been exposed. And so I'm not sure at this point, but I thought something to think about, because if it's affecting that particular student and maybe the students around that smell or even the teachers around that smell, how can we manage that from a policy perspective? And I thought even in a sense it even could relate to our 533 wellness policy and that our environment, or even our 807 health and safety policy, our classroom safe for just because, and one thing I thought of too is different from cigarette smoking where kids can get asthma and ear infections, but marijuana can affect them cognitively and can cause stomach upset and things in people around them. So that's something to think about, and I'm not sure how we might want to or can include that in some kind of discussion or policy.
And maybe if I can just clarify. So I think what you're talking about is the odor that remains on clothing and backpacks, coats, that's kind of thing, that it would be overwhelming or disturbing. It's that kind of secondhand that you're thinking.
Right, secondhand, yeah. And it's hard to define because in our policy, the drug-free workplace school policy, it says there's a couple things, statutes it relates to. Parents or people are not allowed to smoke marijuana in their vehicles, not on any public property or school property, nor around anywhere where a minor can inhale. So we can't say what's happening, obviously, outside of the school, but how do we protect people in our school from that smell that can get obtrusive or cause illness or cognitive?
This is I've had some feedback similar to what you're hearing. Policy 504, which really highlights student dress and appearance. There is a way, because one of the pieces within this is Roman numeral 2, general statement of policy, item B-2, clothing that does not create a health or safety hazard. And so one of the things we take, and again, it's policy and then putting that into practice, is if we have had complaints and or other concerns, we do try to partner with the parents to let them know, or guardian let them know that there's an impact here. But we also do have some policies that do protect children when we feel like it is, or other kids exposed to that, where it might feel like it's an obstruction of the educational process. And so we do have ways of utilizing not only 504, but other policies as well to help guide practice to a point where we may end up talking about what's best for that student. And we've done that in the past for even other as well, but certainly with the advent of the legalization of marijuana, it's been a bit more prevalent.
Do you think what we have in current policy is enough to address it with parents, or do you think something should be discussed?
Yeah, when we have run this, and Ms. Peak and I have, considering this does run a little, because we can't deny their access if they're choosing to do that, nor could, just like with cigarette smoke, that's legal as well. We can only advise.
Right.
Unless it becomes something that does obstruct someone else from learning, and then we can take action to move or adjust or things like that. But I think our attorneys would advise us it's hard to say there can be disciplinary, because then we become discriminatory based upon something that indeed is legal. So now you spoke of potential cognitive pieces. I think within that, if there's a determination that there's some sort of impact to our students, that then becomes something that we become mandatory reporters for, that we can file a report and then see where the investigation goes beyond with other agencies. But it's something we have to consider, certainly, now.
Yeah, I was going to say, would it be fair to will the policy committee meet before our next meeting? So we can put this on the
Pick it
agenda and
up,
just
yeah.
at least have a little more discussion.
Or maybe crosswalk other policies
Right.
without, that's the one for sure, because I just had a situation last week that I referenced policy 504 with student dress and appearance, and applied this actual language to trying to find alternatives and working with the parent to resolve an issue.
And just as an informational thing, when foster children are sometimes tested, they do hair samples. And as a matter of fact, foster children that we've had in our home, weeks after having been removed from their home, they had hair testing done and they still had meth in their system. And that was weeks after being removed from the home. So it can be scary.
Any other questions with regard to policy?
Can I bring up one more thing? So the library policy, I know we just approved that not that long ago, and some new statements were included. I appreciate the statement that includes parents, just parents having the ability to request that their students not be checking out a certain book from the library and so forth. But I still think there might be a missing link with the school board involvement, and this is just a little bit of reiteration from when we approved it last time. But the new policy has a new statement. It's Roman numeral 8, and it's challenge report. And just in a short quote, the school board must report. And so I thought, well, if the school board is not involved in the challenge process, the reconsideration process, or in the selection of books, how are we going to report these challenges? And so is it something where we could discuss, maybe the school board is notified when a book is challenged and thus then has to be reported to, I can't remember exactly where it has to be reported to, or just another way to consider how is the school board being involved in that process?
We have to report it to the Minnesota Department of Education because they keep a record of those requests. That's the only check and balance we have as a district as far as making sure they are informed.
Okay, sure. And then I'm thankful for that. I just noticed that our new revised policy states that the school board must report. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'd have to study the policies, but I don't think it's unusual to see that, you know, the overarching body of the school board has a responsibility, but it's still carried out by, you know, the superintendent and various other employees. So I think I hear what you're saying. It's a question of how close does the school board need to be to that information before it's actually reported, I think is what you're commenting
So
on.
then for clarity, should we be included in that notification? If you know, if we're not, you know, if we're responsible for it, we should at least be
Well, and
included?
again, I think we're, I'd have to
agree.
look in policies. I think we're responsible for lots and lots of things
Yeah, right.
that we're not in the
We're
weeds
not
on.
or not
That's right.
carrying out.
That's right. So I think it's probably finding that balance. But again, we can ponder, we can put it on the agenda, you know, for the policy committee and revisit it the next meeting as well.
All right, good. Anything else for anybody? Okay. Takes care of item 3. Item B, the administrative report. Mr. Elstad.
Yes, I have 3 items tonight. I wanted to report to you, and I think I've said to a couple of recent community groups that it appears that Owatonna Online is one of the fastest growing online programs in the state of Minnesota. You see in your most recent enrollment report, we're showing 5,121 students, which paces us ahead by about 200, almost 250 students from what was projected. The lion's share of that additional student body is Owatonna Online, with a few other open enrollments put in there too, kind of in-person classes. But there's been a lot of work that's gone into Owatonna Online. It is a revenue producer for the district, and when we look at our bottom line, that is something at the next work session that I'll be highlighting to you is kind of how that balances out with any suggested reductions. It seems a bit counterintuitive at times to be looking at maybe adding online staff, but that program continues to grow, which lessens the tax burden for our local taxpayers in the long run. So I just want to make mention that that will be a piece that's growing. We're nearly at 400 students now online. So that continues to grow. We're still seeing not a whole lot of traction in the K-3 environment for many reasons. But certainly grades 4 and above is, and particularly at the middle school, high school levels, we're seeing the largest amount of growth with that. So that's one item I want to lift up. 'Tis the season for legislative updates. This Friday, I'll be attending an event and presenting with my colleague, Dr. Hillman, on some topics that are near and dear to me, like equalization, which you hear from me most every time. The other part that I'm lifting up is if you look at historically, the debt, the amount of money we were receiving in state aid continues to erode at a rapid pace, meaning that our local taxpayers in the Owatonna School District and other districts like us end up paying more of the share, and that's the part of equalization we're trying to get to. That policy on equalization has not been adjusted in about 15 years, and it needs adjusting because economies have changed. So again, that's the biggest one. The other thing I'm looking forward to talking to Senator Jasinski and Representative Sexton with in particular is continued local control and flexibility so that the elected officials on our school board can continue to do your work and do what's best for your community. Recognizing that at times mandates and things like that can cause districts to have to add resources perhaps or do it in an unfunded way, which typically happens. But again, it does allow you an opportunity to review your capital levies locally, promote effective discipline policies, and allow for flexible learning environments that best meet the needs of the students in this school district and other boards certainly in their respective districts as well. Adequate funding. One piece that we're advocating for is to continue to fund unemployment insurance. That is a piece for us that was an unfunded mandate. In addition to that was eliminating cross subsidies. We did receive a nice bonus in the last session with special education cross subsidy. We are still falling short by about 50% of what we should be receiving there to take the burden off of the general fund. And then lastly, more locally, the partnership that we have with Minnesota State Mankato, which really I'm leaning into my colleague Chris Pica here, where we have established programs with grow your own programs, apprenticeship programs to continue to help us as an education system evolve. Because as we see people leaning toward retirement and beyond, we need to have people to backfill those positions. And we have something really special here in this partnership. In fact, what we're asking for from the legislature is to fund the partnership, meaning Owatonna and 6 other school districts, along with MSU Mankato, allow us to have some flexibility to do the things we want to do. Because if you task educators with solving a problem, we can do it. We solved how to do online learning in 2 weeks. We think we can do this as well. So again, just seeking some additional funding to allow us to do the innovation and the innovative things that Chris has brought to our district and others to really help us along with that effort. So again, it's legislative season. You guys know that I love this season because I love to advocate on behalf of our students and staff and community to let them know that we exist here and that we're outside of the metro corridor. We need stuff too here. So, and then lastly, I want to make sure that I mention this tonight. One of our principals received an award. And so I'm going to read the first part of this press release to you. The Minnesota Elementary School Principals Association, MESPA, is proud to announce that Justin Keel, principal of McKinley Elementary in the Owatonna Public Schools, has been honored with the Southeast Division Leadership Award. This award recognizes Keel's exceptional leadership, dedication to developing future leaders, and commitment to fostering positive school cultures that enhance student learning. Furthermore, Keel has specifically made a significant impact on prioritizing 2 key areas in his leadership: developing and supporting people, and creating systems that build a positive school culture. I know Justin is not here tonight, but I want to lift him up publicly because he's a very talented, exceptional leader we have in the district, and certainly his colleagues in the Principals Association found that as well. So again, appreciate Justin and his work, but we'll honor him at a later date, but I want to make sure I mention that to you.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Elstad?
Yes, actually, after June 30th, can you do this legislative work for us too?
You never know. You just never know. I do love this because to me, this advocacy is just a passion. Because I love this community. I love what this community can do. I just know that we want to be heard, and I can be a bit persistent. So anyway, thank you for that, though. I appreciate it.
I did notice, though, in several of the school reports, a lot of students, I think, have finished or working on finishing the FastBridge assessments. And being that it's middle of the year, and oftentimes we get the reports beginning and end of the year, roughly, might be nice if we could see some of those assessments, just to see where our students are at this point in time.
I can certainly ask Julie Sullivan to prepare. I know they're in the middle of winter FastBridge testing right now that you're commenting on. So there's a window of time we have between FastBridge and when we start our MCA assessments. But perhaps she could provide a brief report for the board just to kind of hear. And again, sometimes it's hard to capture, but I can see the excitement that Julie brings when something is happening, and particularly in reading. We're seeing some early traction here.
Nice.
And again, there's always the implementation. When you start out, you see some real early, and then there might be a little slump, but we're seeing some real traction with the new reading curriculum that we're using. So thank you. But I will certainly ask her to see if there's a report she can provide for the board. Thank you.
And will you touch on one more topic for us? You talked about the attendance in the online, but we had an interesting conversation last week, and you shared some good news with regard to attendance at the high school.
Yeah, we're seeing some open enrollment at the high school. In fact, second semester, we're seeing even more open enrollment. And when you inquire with, and again, these are from some of our neighboring districts, which we're not out recruiting, but I think it was about 4 years ago when I told the community that if you build a career pathway career pathway-oriented high school. Others will come because we're creating unique learning experiences for students, and we are in fact seeing that. In fact, I've used the term field of dreams before. If you build it, they'll come, if you've seen the movie. We're seeing some of that, particularly in the high school neighboring districts that have just found the value of coming here because, again, their children are career-oriented, they know there are unique opportunities, and they're not going to pass it up. And we know, and I know, that the high school diploma isn't enough anymore. It has to be Diploma Plus. And all of the accreditations and internships that you hear about quite often from Mr. Kath and others is that it's working. So, yeah, I'm really proud of the work that they're doing there. So thank you.
Great to hear. Before we leave this topic of board forum, let's go around the horn. Ayub, can you give us an update?
Yep, I'm going to focus more on the student council aspect of things. February 10th through 14th is our snow week, and we're pleased to share some of the exciting events we have planned for this year. Highlights include Powder Buff Volleyball Tournament, which is always super fun and fosters friendly competition. This year, for the first time ever, we're doing a Mario Kart tournament, providing a fun and engaging opportunity for students to showcase their gaming skills. Additionally, we will bring back the medallion hunt from last year, which just encourages creativity, collaboration, and just school-wide competition. Alongside these events, we'll have themed dress-up days and other activities that will ensure a memorable and inclusive celebration for all the students at OHS.
On the speech side of things, we have the Mayo Meet this weekend on Saturday. And then on the 24th was the robotics open house, in which I know we raised over $600. So pretty happy about that. And then mock trial so far is 2-0. So we have 2 wins, 0 losses so far. So we need 1 more win out of our next 2 competitions, and we're on to regionals. And then if you win regionals, then you go to state. So that's the goal.
Were we able to get those pictures by chance? So Ron, Andrea, and I attended MSBA conference Thursday. I went Thursday, Friday. I just took some fun pictures of the general session speakers. This was Mickey Smith Jr. He did the opening presentation, walked in playing his saxophone. I think it was Uptown Funk or something. Yeah. Cool, incredible speaker. Well, I'll just highlight a few things. I could speak for an hour, I think, but he, one of his jokes, well, he's a middle school band teacher, so he says, when he welcomes all his students in and you fist pump because you do not want to shake a middle school boy's hand. That was the big thing. And then one thing I noticed between him and the closing speaker, which I have a picture of too, 2 things that I both said in their messages, important things to relate to students. One is, I see you. And just the importance of being seen, and that was incredible. Music was the other. I mean, they both, he is a band teacher, the other guy's a principal, but he incorporated some fun music into his message, and just, that kind of brings people together. So, and he ended his talk with, I Will Always Love You, playing on the saxophone. Yeah, really cool.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. Neat. Okay, next one is Hamish Brewer. He is a principal in Virginia at a middle school, Fredlin Middle School. And do I have control?
On the ones there.
They're
It's
kind
there
of
on
a
the right
collage
side.
of pictures there, so, yeah.
Left and right side.
Am I supposed to do something with it?
No.
I think they're
Just on
just,
the right side. Hamish.
He's the one with the
Side by side there, sorry.
He's the one with the
Thank
baseball
you.
hat.
Now I see. Okay. Yes, so Hamish Brewer, fun guy, very expressive, lots of good energy, tattoos, hat, he can relate to these.
Skateboarder.
Yes, skateboard. One of the pictures is of him giving skateboards to his students. The other one are these 5 basic principles. I won't just read all those. But then the other one, the football one, he said when he started at this middle school, they basically told him, don't go there, it'll kill your career because behaviors, poverty, bad. But he went there, and so that's his football team. He said when they started the year, they had 10 defensemen and 10 offensive men. Didn't even have matching uniforms. but they won. I mean, this is like movie stuff, right? Yeah, and same thing for him. He just really, his message was for students, I see you. And then he said, and by the end, I'm just crying. He says he gets on the loudspeaker of his school and he says, if nobody else tells you today, Mr. Hamish loves you. It was amazing. Yeah, super motivational. Yeah, that's that.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, I'm sorry, I missed the MSBA conference. But they always have amazing speakers, and I've seen them in past, but it sounds like a great year.
I have nothing tonight for board forum.
I think I'll just make one reminder. A constituent reached out and asked specifically whether board members were planning to be participating in the Anxious Generation book study that is happening community-wide. I did see it in the admin report, and I understand maybe you have all the dates. And I think they're also, I realized, published on our website. Thank you, Lori, or whomever is doing that. So the first one is Sunday, I believe, February 17th. 6 p.m., and I don't know the location.
Is it Monday or is it?
It's a Monday.
Is it a Monday? I take that back, Monday.
Yeah, it's between the work session. It's the
Yes.
Monday between the work session and the regular meeting in February.
And is it the district office?
District office, yeah, down in our main conference room there.
Anyway, so people are paying attention, and I'll do my best. Not sure what your schedules will be.
I'm going to try to
Yeah.
be there.
Are they identical, like all three of those? Or are they?
I don't know what the plan is.
Okay.
And presumably, we read about a third of the book? Do you know? Sure. Okay, great. That's all I had.
I am a parent of a new online student this last semester as he crosses over his educational finish line. And I have to say, I was very impressed with the parental and student meeting with the school counselor and the expectations. And she did an amazing job saying this is not COVID online school. And it is not at all. But I've been very impressed. Our student has responded very well to it. Nice. So it doesn't surprise me that the enrollment is up and it's a highly sought after program because we continue to have staff that just do amazing work. So.
I don't have much, just really enjoyed the MSBA conference as well. Elizabeth already touched on the really great speakers that opened and closed each day. But I really enjoyed going to different breakout sessions. Ron and I kind of divided and conquered and then would come back and share notes. And it was really helpful.
Yeah, I would add to that too. Yeah, with the MSBA conference, the two speakers were amazing, and both of them just talked about how you have to love your kids and see them, like Elizabeth mentioned, and the rest will take care of itself. And one of the things, like Hamish Brewer, he said that poverty is not a learning disability. He hasn't found any kid that suffers from learning disability because they're in poverty. And he's really worked in a lot of areas where like you said, you see the kids and love them, and they'll respond. And one of his words that's become one of my new words is intentionality. So that was one of his things that he said, that you have to have this vision, but you also have to have intentionality. So
Excellent. Thank you all. We will move on to item 8, which would be the consent agenda. Quick reminder, we are approving the minutes from December 9, January 6th, and 13, the disbursement and personnel reports. Does anybody have a reason that we would pull anyone out?
I have a thing. So on the report, there's 3 employees that are listed as professional teaching internships. And I saw the parent of one of the employees this last week, and I'm like, now what exactly is that? Can you just tell us what it is? Because it's such a phenomenal opportunity, and these young adults are so excited and jazzed.
So this idea came about 8 years ago when Chris and I came together and wondered about because the university system has winter graduates and spring graduates, and there are many times our winter graduates are looking for things. We were looking for substitute teachers. And so the 2 of them married up into an idea that we were able to pass along to MSU Mankato, and they became our partner with it. So what they're doing is that our students have started with us 4 days of the week, they are in different classrooms as hired subs. So they're able to work in the classrooms, and then one day of the week, they engage in professional learning, and so we do offer graduate, and we pay for graduate credits for them to do this. Our win is we have substitutes. We have 3 additional substitutes to help cover those needs. But furthermore, we also have first right of refusal when it comes to hiring these people on. And frankly, I think we've hired nearly all of them into our fold. So it's just another way to keep people coming into our school district. But I appreciate that Chris put up with a crazy idea for us to do this, but it's been a real win for us. Some years we have more than others. We happen to have 3 this year, and I think it's just an awesome thing, and they're appreciating the fact that, I mean, for us, it's like a year-long or at least a half-year interview. We get to watch these people in practice, and they get to see and experience what it's like to sub at different levels as well, which I think is valuable because you start to appreciate your colleagues even more, but you also know maybe there was something that we went, I went to do this, but I'd really like to look at that. So again, great program, but thanks for asking.
Yeah, so super cool. Very exciting.
We will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Tim, if you would.
Ron?
Aye.
Andrea?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Elizabeth?
Aye.
And I am an aye. 7-0 pass.
Motion carries. Very good. Item 9 tonight, there are a couple of items that need board action. The first one is item A, continued employment of board member. I'll ask Mr. Elstad to give us a little background on this.
As this is the first regular business meeting after the new board members have been sworn in, Policy 210, which is a conflict of interest policy specifically set aside for school board members, allows for board members to be newly employed or continuing their employment by the district as long as the employee only, if there's a reasonable expectation that the amount set in a statutory way is $20,000 per year. I will report to you that Andrea Van Gelder is indeed employed by the school district as an accompanist for Wilson Elementary School. The amount that she earns is well below the $20,000 threshold. And I'm asking tonight for you to consider approving her. And again, this does require a full vote of the board tonight. But I'm asking as part of Policy 210 that we meet this expectation of taking this vote because of her request to continue employment in that role.
Yep, I move that the board approve Andrea Van Gelder's continued employment with the school district.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further comments or perhaps clarifying questions?
I'm sure we need accompanists.
Amen, thank you.
Can she play for us?
Well, Aaron brought
I
a
have her violin.
so we could get a little concert going.
Very good. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? There's our unanimous vote. Sarah, there we go. Item B would be the extended trip request. Mr. Elstad.
Well, this was actually brought up to us by one of our student school board representatives. Aaron Baker brought this before. This extended trip request is for our robotics team to attend a robotic competition in Colorado. I don't know exactly, this is a proactive measure if they were to qualify to go. But are you planning on heading to this?
So it is set in stone that we are attending, as long as the board's okay with it. We would have loved to go somewhere closer, but Minnesota is the 3rd highest concentration of FIRST robotics teams, and we would typically go to Duluth, where the Colorado trip is placed, and we were unable to get in, considering it was the highest requested regional in the world. So we went to Colorado, and that is currently where we're at.
And according to policy, because there are 3 school days missed within this particular trip request, that is why you are asked to consider approving this extended trip request. But Mr. Kath has been notified, I have been notified about this, so all of the plans have been set.
So it's a go.
The trip is a
If you
go
approve.
If we approve.
based upon your
Gotcha.
approval.
All right. Questions?
We've done this in several years going to Duluth, right? It's just Colorado's the only new thing.
The difference is that it's the entire team that's missing 3 days. And I believe we're missing a complete 3 days. Typically, we leave halfway through Wednesday, leads will go up. And that's about like 7 students, 9 students or so that will miss like half of Wednesday, and then they'll miss Thursday, Friday, and then the rest of the team comes up on Thursday. But, so I guess it's new in the sense that we're missing 3 full days for all of the team. But I can promise that these are the utmost standing students.
Even if they're not, have fun. Go get them.
We're riding up there with 2 other Minnesota robotics teams, so it'll be a really fun trip. We're taking 2 coach buses, I believe.
Very nice. Would one of you please introduce this motion for us?
I move that the board approve the extended trip request to Colorado as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? All in favor with an aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Item C, I'm going to introduce this for you. Item C is the superintendent search process. And upon Mr. Elstad's announcement of his retirement earlier this month, the board moved into action with a work session just last week. So in order to help guide the board with this process, I asked Dr. Sherry Allen, and Dr. Sherry Allen is a very familiar name to Owatonnans as she was a coach, a teacher here in Owatonna. She served as an assistant superintendent in Rochester as well as a superintendent over in Mankato. In addition to asking Sherry Allen to join us, Chris Pica, who is the Director of Human Resources, was a part of that. The 2 of them were there to basically keep some framework and some guardrails for us as we explore this. In the 8 years that Mr. Elstad has been here, we had a really, really clear sense prior to his arrival of what we wanted to see from his superintendency. And so item number 1 that we worked on in this work session last week was to identify what is the direction that this board feels that we should move as we look ahead to the next 8 years. We spent a good amount of time on that. And then the second part of the process was to engage in conversation as to how do we go about this? Well, where we landed was basically to say we're going to start this process by inviting internal candidates to apply. The other option for us would have been to go in an open format where we would have entertained inquiries or applications from both internal applicants as well as the general public. We feel as though it's in our best interest to start with a local and we'll initiate it that way. We think that that's in our best interest. We will actually begin an initial interview in the middle of February, so we're not wasting any time, and we've really already enjoyed the benefit of Chris Pica and some of the framework and guidance that she will provide, and we'll soon be getting a quick summary from Sherry Allen with regard to the basic general directions that we had talked about with regard to the future of our district. But with that, I would offer, here's a good chance for me to stop, and all of you can interject with other components to that you'd like.
Okay.
Well, I think Chris mentioned we're going to have like a community survey as part of that, so.
Right.
That's,
Right.
Actually, I did have an afterthought. I understand the urgency of getting this done and the need for transition for the new superintendent to come in. And is there, what would be, I don't know if we know this now, but what would be the latest date that we would say we have to have a superintendent by such and such date, or we just get an interim in the meantime?
Well, I'll answer your question. I don't think that there is a need for us to drag our feet. We know what our task is. It's in front of us,
Yep.
and we need to take action. To the extent that we find ourselves unsuccessful in an internal, and we decide that we will go through an open process, and to the extent that that does not work as well, yes, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but that would then require an interim. So, anybody else, any other comments?
Nope, I think you did a good job. We commented earlier and good.
You have a
I
motion
do.
ready to go for us?
I do. I move that the board initiate a superintendent search by conducting an internal application process.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor with an aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Chris reached out to me today. So we do know that we are scheduling an initial interview on the 13th of February. And Chris reached out and asked to the extent, and we will have a second, we'll have a follow-up interview. And that would take place on the week of the 17th of February. And so Chris's request is, could we please take a look at our calendars and determine if there's a day that works best for all of us? Again, this is the week of February 17.
Do we have a time specifically that we are thinking of?
Well, it'll be a all-day process or a half-day process for the candidates. But I would put your, the school board interviews would be towards the end, they would be at the end, the other interviews, would be earlier. So 4, 3:30,
Okay.
4 o'clock, if that, I don't know what everyone's schedule is. 5, depending on candidates, you don't want to get too late, so you're interviewing at 9 o'clock.
And Chris, I'm assuming we should plan to go into the early evening at least. I mean, it's yeah.
I would prefer not Wednesday.
Ben.
Tuesday of that week looks very nice, or
Yep.
Thursday on my calendar.
I can do either of those.
I can do Tuesday.
Ron, Tuesday?
I should be able to make that work.
Elizabeth?
Most likely could make that work. I do work in Austin that day, so I just would have to double check.
Okay, so if we did something, if we pushed if we used that day and we went a little bit later, that would work for you? Okay, Tim?
After 4:30 would be ideal for me on Tuesday.
And my best recollection is that that's about the time that we conducted interviews last time.
I think so.
Like 4:30 to 6 or 4 o'clock? Okay.
But
Yeah.
that's fine, I mean, we can go 5, I mean, does that work?
4 or 5, yeah, either one.
All right, got your date?
Yep.
All right, perfect.
18th, we said? Can I send out an invite? Or should I just do it?
Put it right in.
I'll just do it right now, don't
Chris will
worry about
send it.
So I don't.
Chris will send it. She's
then
very
just to-
thorough. She'll send it out to you.
Just to confirm on the 13th, is that 4 PM as well?
Did we identify a date, a time rather, on that day?
Well, we threw out numbers, I don't think we ever firmed up anything.
If we said 4 o'clock on the 13th, does that work for everybody?
Oh, okay, so we're doing the first
This
one
is
on
the
the
third.
Thursday.
The initial interview, right.
4 o'clock that day.
I can make that work. It's nice to get it on the calendar, just to.
Okay, Chris, I think we're hearing that at 4 o'clock. Perfect. Last item tonight would be gifts to the district. Mr. Elstad, if you would.
I just realized I caused my own surreal moment there, so I'll let that go.
It's weird. isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's very strange, but I'm starting to accept it. Anyway, I accept it. So in your packet tonight, you received a resolution that accepts donations of nearly $170,000 tonight. Again, the lion's share of this is coming from the 761 Foundation. $50,000 from them is set aside as their installment for the foundation room. If you remember, the foundation room was not part of the original plan of the new high school building, but because of the generous donations from both the 761 Foundation and the Owatonna Foundation, together they partnered to pay for the foundation room. And then the other one is the annual grants, over $110,000 in grants that they provide to instructors and other staff to lead innovative programs within our district. And again, not to take away from the other donations, but again, just having that amount of money presented to you for gifts, I think is a just a testimony to how much our community cares about our kids.
Any questions?
Point out how useful the Owatonna Foundation's room is. It is used all the time. In fact, we're using it for the Mario Kart and robotics thing. So,
It's the most sought after space in the high school, quite honestly. Community
Definitely.
space, I should say.
yeah.
Yeah, quick note, interesting note, the Owatonna Foundation had to move a regularly scheduled meeting out of the foundation room because it was being used. For the 761 Foundation, I should say. Okay, would one of you be kind enough to introduce the motion for gifts?
I move that the board approve the resolution for acceptance of gifts as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Tim, if you would, please.
Ron?
Aye.
Andrea?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Elizabeth?
Aye.
And I am an aye, 7-0 passed.
Motion carries as well. Last item tonight, item 10 would be to adjourn. I will introduce the motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
In a second. All in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good meeting. Thanks, folks.